yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to my crochet channel, and welcome to another Friday Fun Day. Well, I really have a fun project for us today. I know that Father's Day is coming. It is this Sunday, and I thought it would be fun to make a fun and silly coffee cozy for Father's Day. But really, this is for any time, for anyone. Now, this is a really simple koozie, and we're going to attach a mustache. And to quote my granddaughter, she said, "I must ask you a question." She's so funny. So what I did is I just made it to fit your basic coffee cup. And of course, the coffee cup measures about 4 inches tall, and it's about 10 inches around. But if you choose a bigger coffee mug, you can always add more rows. Or if you've chosen a smaller one, you can always add less rows, because it's just basic single crochet rows for the length that we need. Okay, and then we're just going to add on, and you notice I'm using my Coffee and Crochet Sara mug. And you just put the little loops on the end, and it'll fit just about any coffee mug by easily adjusting it. And of course, we add this adorable mustache applique. And I did mine in beige just because it's easy to record beige. But you could do white, you could do gray, you could do black, you could do pink. Who cares, right? For whoever you're making it for. It's just adorable. Everybody will want one, not just the daddies and the opas and the grandpas and the great-grands. They'll all want one because it's just adorable. And it looks really cute when they're drinking from it, when they have it up against their face and that mustache is facing out. It's just so adorable. It's super easy to make, all made with acrylic yarns, although you could use cotton. And of course, we'll talk more about yarn in just a couple of seconds. Now you can find this complete pattern with pictures. As always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. Doesn't that look like a lot of fun to make? Well, it really is, and it just takes a few supplies. All right, so you're going to need about 2 ounces of your main color, which I'm using this lighter blue. And then you need about 1 ounce for your trim, and I'm using this a little bit darker blue. And then for the mustache, you just need a small amount, not even 1/4 of an ounce, very little bit. And of course, I did my mustache in beige. You could do gray if you're making it for a grandpa or a great-grandpa, or white or black, or whatever color of mustache that you want to. I'm sticking with this beige just because it's easiest to see. All right, and then of course you need a standard coffee cup, and this is just your basic size. I think it measures about 10 inches around, and it's about 4 inches tall. If you're making this for a bigger coffee mug, you could always do more rows around to make it bigger and wider, or you could do more chains if you wanted it to be taller. It's a very basic pattern. It's all stitched in single crochet rows until we do the mustache. And the mustache is an applique that we're going to sew onto the cozy. Or some people call them koozies, some people call them cozies. I don't care what you call them. They're super fun to make. We're going to be using our H hook today, which is a 5mm crochet hook. And you need a needle for weaving in ends and sewing on our mustache. And of course, a pair of scissors. So we're starting with our main color, which I'm using this sort of light blue. We're going to start with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 10 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, and now we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And then we'll stitch 1 single crochet in each of those stitches across our chain. Now we chained 10. We started in the second chain from the hook, and so we're going to have 9 single crochets for row 1. and chain 1. All right. So for row 1, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 single crochets, and we chained 1. Let's do row 2. We've chained 1. We're going to turn our work. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and so we're going to go right in that first stitch and just stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 9 stitches. If you can stitch a single crochet, you can do this pattern. Although on the mustache, we are doing some other stitches besides single crochet, but it's super easy. All right, so we stitched 1 single crochet in each of those 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Chain 1, and then we're going to turn again. So we chained 1, and we are going to turn again. Single crochet in that first single crochet, and 1 in each of those stitches across. And chain 1. So again, we stitched 1 single crochet in each. That gave us 9 single crochets, chain 1, and turn. And so what we're going to do is we're going to continue to repeat row 3 for 32 more rows. So we have a total of 35 rows. Now what I would do at this point, once you've stitched those additional 32 rows, I'd put it on my coffee mug that you're going to be giving and making sure that it's going to fit. All right? If it doesn't fit, it's too small, add a few more rows. If it fits but it's too loose, because we still have to put the handles on and the trim, then do a few less rows. All right? Because remember, yarn is stretchy. All right? So we're going to repeat row 3 for 32 more rows. So I have stitched those additional 32 rows, so that brings me up to row 35. And I want to grab my mug so you can see what I'm talking about. You want it to fit around, and see how that barely, oops, there we go. And I'm not pulling on it at all, I'm just setting it on there because we're going to make straps that are going to go around the handle of our mug. If it's overlapping, you may want to take a row or 2 out. If it's way back here and not fitting, then you may want to add some more rows for your cozy to fit properly. All right? Once you have determined that it is going to fit your coffee mug properly, we're going to bring in our second color, or you can do it in the same color. I'm going with just a little bit darker shade of blue. And what we're going to do is we're going to evenly single crochet all the way down here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go in that first stitch here, and when I'm doing an even row on single crochet, I usually try to put 1 in the end of each of the rows, and you want to try to go in the sides of the stitches if you can. All right, so we're stitching an even row of single crochet down the, this is actually the top of your cozy, because this is the top. Then we'll come down on this side, and we'll go ahead and make that loop, and then we'll come all the way down on this side and then make our loop on this side. All right? All righty. So I'm just going to evenly single crochet down the side of, or I should say down the top of my mug cozy. Now, although we're making this for Father's Day, you can make this particular type of cozy any day for any holiday and use any yarn colors that you want to. I chose to use acrylic, but you could also use cotton if you want to. All right, so I'm just going to continue on down to this corner down here. I have single crocheted across the top of my koozie or cozy, and that brings us to the end here. And we want to single crochet in that first stitch. We're going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to skip the 7 stitches and single crochet in the last one. Now that gives us our loop to go over our cup handle. All right, and then we're going to turn our work. We'll go right in that same stitch, and now we're just going to evenly single crochet across the bottom of our cozy, and then we'll repeat what we did here on the other end. That's why this particular cozy doesn't need any buttons or Velcro or ties or anything. Easy to slip on and off a cup and toss it in the wash. All right, so I'm just going to continue working down the bottom of my cozy. And so I have stitched evenly single crocheting all the way down the bottom of my cozy. So now I'm to the back to the end. So we'll single crochet in that first stitch. We're going to chain 8 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we'll skip those 7 stitches and stitch in the last one. Now we'll join to that first one with a slip stitch and cut our yarn. And I'm going to pull that loop to the back. And of course we have some tidying up to do. There we go. So we have loops on both ends. And of course I do have a little tidying up to do, but I want to show you how this works. Okay, so we take the loop on this end and we put it right over that, and it needs to be a little bit of a snug fit or it's not going to stay put. Okay, and then you just bring the other end over, ignoring my where I need to weave in. There you go. And now that's going to stay put because it's a nice fit. Isn't that cute? Just wait till we get that mustache on there. It's going to be even cuter. So now I'm all tidied up. I've got my cozy on here, but even though it's cute, it's a little bit empty, and I wanted to add a mustache. So I'm going to set that aside and grab my yarn. All right, let's make a mustache. And again, you can do your mustache in any colors that you want to. You could even do it in bright pink or green. It doesn't matter to me. All right, let's make a mustache. So we're going to start with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 16 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. All right, so that's the length of our mustache. We're going to slip stitch in the first 3 stitches. We won't go in the first one, so we'll start in the next and stitch 1, 2, 3 slip stitches. Now we're going to stitch a single crochet in the next. Then we'll half double crochet in the next stitch. And then in the next chain, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. One and 2. Then we'll stitch a half double crochet in the next and single crochet in the next. All right, so now we're going to half double crochet in the next, 2 double crochets in the next, 1 and 2, half double crochet in the next, single crochet in the next, and then slip stitch in these last 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And this is our mustache. Can I ask, oh wait, I must ask you a question. All right, now you want to leave yourself a good tail of yarn because we're going to use this and this tail to sew on the mustache onto our mug. All right, so the next thing you need to decide is where do you want to put it. My suggestion is if they're going to hold it like this, you may want to put it on the outside of the mug on this direction. Okay, and just like right in the center, we'll stitch it on. So I grabbed a couple of pins just because I want to hold it in place. I don't want it getting tilted or anything. All right, and I want to try to center it so that it's right here. Let me show you the whole thing here. I want it to be right here so when I put this on the mug, when they're drinking from it, the mustache is facing out. You could even put 2 on if you wanted to so that there would be one facing them and facing out. Okay, so I'm going to pin it. And I'm going to pin it here at the 2 little bumps of the mustache. Okay, and I want this to come out a little bit, so I'm going to make sure I pin this one. Now, you don't have to pin it, and I don't always. Sometimes I just stick them on, and wherever they end up, they end up. But this one, I'm a little bit more particular on, and so I want it to lay nice and neat. All right, so you can pin that on if you want to. All right, so I'm going to grab my needle and I'm going to thread on my longer one. There we go. All right, so I'm going to start from this end and I'm going to follow this braided sort. It's where our stitches are, and I'm going to follow that line. Okay, and I'm just going to go in and out those lines. I'm going to go ahead and take this pin out since I've got where I want it to be. And just follow the line, what we call this, where it's actually not a braid. It looks like a braid, but it's where our stitches are. And we're just going to go in those stitches just following it around. All right, so it looks like I've tilted a little, so I'm going to go ahead and take this pin out and try to make that look a little better. There we go. That looks more like a mustache. Pin that one back in. It happens working with yarn. Sometimes this, you know, it can get tilted on you. And a lot of times it doesn't really matter if it does, you know, but like if you're putting on eyes and one gets tilted, they usually look pretty silly, and I'm okay with that. But this one, I just want it to lay nice and neat. There we go. All right, so I've stitched across the top. There we go. So now I'm just going to stitch across here. Now I leave this on here just in case I need it, basically. I may not have saved enough on this end, and I can use this beginning piece of yarn if I need to, okay? Because now what we're going to do is we're just going to stitch across this line across the bottom. And one thing to remember is you need to stitch just a little bit loose because you still want this to be a little bit stretchy. Because if not, when you go to put it on your cup, it might pull a little bit and look awkward. And if you're giving this as a gift, you want it to look nice, right? Although I have a niece who loves all the mustache stuff, she would probably just love this. I made her a hat one time that had a mustache on the front. She just loved it. All right, so I'm almost out of yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and, there we go. Just put that to the back. And then I'll just take this end and finish up. And again, we're not looking for perfection. We do want it to be neat and tidy, but if it's not exactly perfect, it's okay. And sometimes that's even better. All right, now I'm going to stretch that out just a little. You may have to shape it some. This one's a little fatter on this end, but that's my mustache, okay? So I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to give this what I call a stay knot. I just put it together like that. And then it just helps it stay put. It doesn't make a bump or anything. And then I can weave this in. Now, because this might be seen when it's coming on and off, I'm going to try to weave it in through those stitches that I just made. So it doesn't add additional stitches. And that's another reason I do that little stay knot, because I just want to try to keep it as tidy as I can on the back. Although you could get some of that sticky felt that we use on some of our magnet projects, and that would work as well. But see how I'm just going through those stitches already there? Yep, that's about it. Alrighty. So let me move this out of the way. We've got our mustache on there. I may put a little stitch on that one just to hold that up a little bit. That one wants to go down. Now, you can block it on a blocking board if you want it to be more precise. You can. It'll work just fine. All right, let's grab our mug. And you can see I'm using the Coffee and Crochet with Sara mug as my demo, which is totally fine because it's a basic size coffee mug. I've got my mustache on there. Put my other loop on this side. And now you can ask them when you're drinking, hey, I mustache you a question. Looks like I need a little blocking on that side too. I'm sorry, this is just so much fun. I think anyone that you give this to would get a real kick out of it. Isn't it just adorable? It's easy, it's adorable, and I think, you know, if you're making this for someone, say they're a hunter, you could use, you know, the camo. If it's someone who just absolutely loves yellow like I do, or cowboy, you know, anything, their colors they love, you know, and you can add buttons to it also if you wanted to. You know, you could always add like a fishing pole or a fish or something and make it a little bit more personal. But I just love the idea of the mustache. It's just so cute.